Welcome to this week's episode of Being Human. I'm delighted to say I'm here with Arnaud Collery from Bordeaux right now, joining us from Bordeaux. Arnaud is an entrepreneur, a speaker, and a coach, and I suppose a creative tour de force, which I'm sure we'll get into, active in so many different areas. So Arnaud, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things I know about you is you're the world's first chief happiness officer. So is that where it started? Where did you first get into this idea of happiness in the workplace and thriving at work?
Right. So I was at the time, 2013, I was based in South Africa, and I was an entrepreneur in residence in one of the best tech accelerator of Africa. Fascinating time. And they hired me because I was known to be a communicative guy and to help entrepreneurs to tell their stories on stage. That's why they hired me. I was based in LA at the time. And I went there and I found out that my real talent lie into bringing the ecosystem together. So bring the VC venture capitalist ecosystem together. So I will bring them, ask question what an entrepreneur needs, how you can get funding for a company. My talent lies into that. My talent lies into helping people when they need it with their soul needs, right? So people needed to cry, they would come to me. People needed a laugh, they come to me. And I'm like, I'm not just a creative guy. I know I had this need to be a coach, this desire for years, but for some reason, I had pushed away the coach because I always thought, coaching is not something prestigious. Like a coach is just helping people. I probably had a problem myself with value attached to coaching. Right? I grew up in a very intellectual family, and so anything that was not intellectual was probably not interesting. So, and I push away, and then I'm like, well, actually, I have to be a coach, and this is what I'm doing. I'm a coach in the business world, and and somehow I came across a newspaper article on chief happiness officer so the first chief happiness officer was not me. It was in the year 2000s. A few guys in LA, Silicon Valley, happened to create the job to be a buffer between the management and engineers and VC, right? Engineers still nowadays very difficult to explain to come across with their emotions, and they needed the emotion to be okay with the manager, and manager to explain that to venture capitalists. So the work of chief happiness officer were created in the year 2000s, and then it sort of disappeared with the first internet crisis. And I came across this article, I don't know, somehow. And I'm like, oh my God, this is who I am. I need to sort of resuscitate, right? To bring it back. And we were a few guys actually in the same time doing that. There was a guy in Japan, a guy in Denmark, me, and the same time, without knowing each other, we sort of put that chief happiness officer function back into force. So I stayed in South Africa 6 months, came back in June 2013. And so I had this idea, should I do, should I not do? Had this internal conflict with me. I had already been an actor, movie producer. I was involved now with tech guys. I'm like, and then tell you the truth, I went to a tribe in Ecuador, Christmas 2013. And in the tribe, many things happened. And one experience led me to understood, okay, my talent lies into helping and entertaining people. And chief happiness officer is a mixed, right? I've always loved entertainment stage, but I've always loved helping, people to be their best self. So in the tribe in Ecuador, in the middle of nothing at night, like I need to do that. I need to go back to New York. We had moved to New York, my wife at the time, and we're going to do that. So January 2014, I'm like, And basically, I opened my company April 2014. And I remember I went to the first networking event. It was for Venture for America. Venture for America. I don't know if you've heard of this fantastic organization in America, created by David Yang, the guy who ran for Democrats, presidential Democrat in the US.
Yeah.
And then he tried to run for mayor. You know, he was behind the universal income thing.
That's right. I remember him. Yeah.
Guy. Brilliant. And anyway, I was one of his judge for the fantastic organization he created, Venture for America. You know, sponsored by people like the guy from Zappos. You know, the very happiness guy, right, who died recently. Anyway, so I went to this event, and I remember
I didn't know he died recently. Oh God.
Yeah. Read
Tony Heisch guy. Yeah.
Fascinating guy. I met him. Just read why he died. Crazy story. I won't go into that now. A whole story in itself. But anyway, I remember saying to people during this networking event, big finance guy from New York, and you know, important people, I'm going to be a chief happiness officer. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I remember writing an email to my 1,000 email list around the world. This is what I'm going to do now, because you know I believe in the power of being accountable. And you tell people before you actually move into something. So you accountable. You have to. There's no choice. You burn your bridge, or you burn your boats, like the Viking, right? When they would invade a country, they would burn some boats, so they have nothing to fall on. Yeah. And I've done that many times. So I start from scratch, no matter what people say. I have a new direction and I go for it. So I burn my boat, meaning everything I've done before doesn't matter. I told all my friends, and everyone felt I was crazy. It took me 6 months to find the first client. 6 months. And then I went on. So basically, as what I did as a chief happiness officer is, how can I bring more joy? And how can I bring more purpose to any organization, any teams? So I did 4 things. Basically, I start creating a curriculum for chief happiness officer, and I train hundreds of them in France. I would go back to France to do that, in New York, where based, in Latin America, in the Middle East. Second, I would start making speeches. So I did hundreds of conferences on what is it. And then I create an event called Stand Up for Passion around the world, where people will tell the story of transformation inside of organization, right? So they feel better. And I would bring, we might touch on this, like how vulnerability is so important in the workplace. Even though 70% of managers, whether it's in France, whether it's in US, are still not vulnerable. And it's okay. But the new generation is understanding that. They all want that. I don't know so much the UK market, but I know in France and I know US, they're not all open to that. It's okay. In 5 years, 100% will have to be vulnerable. For the very first time a few months ago, I've been asked to coach CEOs on empathy, how to develop empathy. Can you believe? Private coaching, people who had no sensitivity, and I thought that was a joke. But actually, now organizations want to develop empathy for some of them within their ranks. So, chief happiness officer, more joy, more purpose, and we can go into details.
Yeah,
you know why, how it's been done, and so I still believe it's even though now they call it employee engagement officer, chief of purpose, chief of vibes. No matter what name you give, but you need to bring back humanity, to the companies. Otherwise they die. Otherwise they will die in the long term, right?
Yeah.
I know Elon Musk might disagree with me, and I would love to do a 2 hours conversation with him. Such a brilliant guy. I love him as an innovator and tech guy. I'm fond of the guy. But of course, I dislike the way he treats his employees. No one's perfect. And I still think we need humanity if we can bring it, right? If there is a way to just go inside, and then there's many ways. Basically, one of the first thing is to find a positive influencer within the company.
Yeah.
At any rank, there is positive influencer, people who believe in that thing. Even in the boards, in the executive committee, you will find 1 in 10 people actually interested in personal growth, in building. You just have to find those mercenaries. And sometimes I think of myself as a happiness mercenary. I mean, I would go anywhere in the world where people ask me to do that, right? If there would be a way to go to North Korea and do a gig, I would do it.
Right.
I would do it because I know you will bring the seeds. And what you need to do is to bring the seeds, to start the conversation with yourself. This is the goal, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so tell me, so it took you 6 months to get your first client and they hire you, and what's that situation like? What are some of the first steps you take in that role as chief happiness there?
So the first thing is to do an audit, right? Survey how people feel, what they like, what they don't like, truly anonymous about their manager, about their teammate, to understand the ecosystem, to have a sort of the system, right? The ecology, the human ecology of the company, to have as many, if you can, one-to-one meetings, short, 15, 20 minutes meeting with as many managers as you can. And after that, after a few days of that, you can do a team building, right? And what I do in my team buildings is you get everyone around. You get the head first, because if the CEO is not on board, it's never going to go down, right?
Yeah.
And for me, the team building can last between 1 to 3 days. Very intense. Very intense. 9 hours a day. You start at 8:30, 9. You finish at 5. You have a light meals. The sort of a process. And I use the same tools over and over. Gratitude, right?
Yeah.
You can go into depth. What is real gratitude? Purpose. What is your purpose? Why you are in this company? And share it. And basically, if you your purpose, I say it frankly, people should get out of the company. If they don't see the alignment where their heart is, why their soul basically needs to be in this company, probably not going to work. And I speak like this now. I'm very transparent. And before any CEOs, before they hire me, I tell them, after my speech, after my team buildings, some people might leave the company. And it's okay. It's better for them, for the company, for the world. But those that would stay, I guarantee you, they'll be 200% more engaged. And that's what you want.
Yeah.
You want the people that want to leave the company, but they're not courageous enough to leave the company. And you want whoever remains to be at the top and fully engaged. I mean, right now, it's terrible, right? The pre-COVID, we said 20% of people are super engaged.
Yeah.
Now, the numbers are 5-6%.
It's gone down. Okay.
5-6%. Those who are super engaged, not engaged. Engaged, roughly 20% of people do their work, conscientious, like what they do, good guy, good girl. But 5% of people are super engaged. Like, just do the extra mile. It's nothing, right? So you need, if you don't want a chief happiness officer or a specialist of employee engagement or purpose, have someone. That's what I did during the COVID. So I'm based in Bordeaux, and there is a big firm here called La Cité du Vin, which is sort of the biggest wine museum of the world. Fascinating. It was a $80 million project. So you can imagine how big is the museum, and treaties, 100 employees. And I was friend with the director, and I'm like, COVID happens now. If you want to keep your employee as good as possible, I can propose you to be a coach in residence. I had less international keynotes, obviously, right? Less clients around the world. So I'm like, I have a bit more time. I'm based in Bordeaux. What I would do, and I think every company in the world should do that, I will be your coach in residence, half day a week, for only 20-minute session for employee to just, I'm here as an active listener. I just listen to what they need. And I might give them a direction or perspective. That's all I do. They love the idea. We did the experiment for 6 months. And, it, it saved some of the employer for us. We were going nuts, like any company would have done any in the world. Any company would need that. Just we need what we call in French a soupape. We need a reason, a space to breathe, to be ourselves, to allow, to be seen. Right? Most employees, number one problem of employee, they are not seen by their manager. Right? They're not heard. And everyone is a human being, even though some CEO I talk to that they don't get it. I'm like, everyone needs to be seen. Only 5% right now of employees just going to work, be like a machine. 5%. So 90% of people, they want to be heard. Yes, he asks you more times. Yeah, you need to spend more money. And right now, I know we're in a budget freeze, budget cut. I was talking to a big company yesterday. They want to bring me. They have budget freeze. I'm like, okay, fine. You don't want to spend money like me? Fine. But my role is as important as a CFO, as a lawyer. You don't want to bring me the money? Pay me when you can. But I'm not going to discount my price. This is my price, and you have to pay me. Because people sometimes don't value our work, right? They think of us as as a priest, and we should not pay us, right? We just do good. No. As work, as value, as much as a lawyer or the CFO, we bring the energy together. We bring what the Indians the native Indians in America call the Otanda, to keep the fire inside.
Right.
I don't know if you read the book, and I've
never come across that word.
Orenda, but there's a great book that talks into details about this by Steve Kotler, an American consultant from Silicon Valley, and it's called Stealing the Fire.
Right.
The only thing you have to do, I think, as a human being, as a manager, is to keep the fire alive into everyone, in yourself. Right. Yeah. What gives you energy? Right. And we're all different, all of us. So what gives you energy? You need to keep that space alone. And in your employee, and everyone is different. Some need to be more challenges. Some need more flexibility. Right now I was talking to a company the other day. It's a French company, Ubisoft, a really good company.
Yeah,
actually.
I've heard of them.
You heard of 20,000 employees, and they just decided to give, on the top of vacation, right, 20 days a year to each 20,000 employees in the world, where they can work from anywhere in the world, right? Total flexibility, and they choose. I love it. They can go to Bali and work.
Yeah.
They don't need to be. It's so cool, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Some employee going to stay in Ubisoft just because of that, right? You need to know what, and especially it's a video game company, bunch of nerds and geeks. But they also need that time off, or to at least see the light and not just a dark room, right? So what your company culture needs. Again, once every company is different. That's why there's no one. I wrote 2 books on the subject in French. Unfortunately, I need to translate them. I've been back in France for 2 years, 20 years around the world. Not sure I'm going to stay too long. I meet the dynamism of Anglo-Saxon culture, to be true. I really miss it. So not sure I'm going to stay too long, but that's a different thing. But you need to understand your energy, your culture, right? We call it. I don't believe in the rules for culture transformation. So first, the only thing, there's principle. Audit. Then you need to do a team building. You need to gather people around emotion. Please don't do sports. I love sports. I do sports every single day for me, right? If a day without sports is not, I can't mentally survive. But it's not what you do anymore in a team building. A sports is not enough to bring people together. You need to have them share emotions on who they are. This is what I fundamentally believe. I'm convinced. I don't have too many beliefs in my lives, but it's one of the beliefs I have. Right? You need, in order to engage you need to have them to share the sort of life purpose, life secret. And I've worked with people at Google, at BMW, at Vinci, at Chanel. It worked 100% of the time. So people say, oh, should I bring a coach that's going to talk about emotion and life purpose? Yes, it's going to work 100%. Just take one day. Don't bring a coach for 2 hours. You think it's going to work. I mean, I do keynotes. It's 1 hour. It's not the same. I bring seeds in people, right? Seeds. But then if I want to transform a culture, yeah, you need to hire a coach for a few weeks and you need to do an audit and you need to do a team building. And then you need to do session for the people that need the most. Not long session, 20 minutes. And it's not a therapy, it's just being there for people. And then you need to work on the value of the company. Are the value you see on the wall the same as the value people live day to day? Are they the same? And if not the same values, because usually it's the entrepreneur, the founder of the company who created them 10, 20, 50 years ago, of course they change, especially in a post-COVID world, right? Which it's just, we can talk about the change. I mean, I spent 3 hours yesterday with a future of workplace, future of work specialist, and we had the same vision on the world. Fascinating. And it's just such a different world, right? And for me, which I guess I consider myself as Chip Conley mentioned, a modern elder. You know Chip Conley?
No, no.
You have to read all about Chip Conley, Conley.
Chip Conley, right?
Yeah. Yeah, based on the work you do, you're going to love what he has to say, and maybe you can interview as well on the podcast. And you know, there's the people after 45, 50 who are just old, and there are those who are, you know, young old. And I hope, and I guess that's what I've been told anyway, that I'm a very young old now, right? For the young people at least, and basically those who are just old, they're gonna be out of date in like 3-4 years, and they're gonna be fired from all companies. They're gonna be fired. They might be the top guy, top girl, if they don't want to show their vulnerability, the sensibility to bring engagement back to the company. You know, except the outliers, like, you know, some guys are, you know, if you own Twitter and you own Tesla and you own SpaceX, you might not be fired by anyone, and it's fine. But if you're not the owner of the company, you're gonna get fired. And I bet you anything, even maybe I should write to Elon Musk today. Even a guy like Elon Musk is gonna bring it someone like me because he understands that's what people want.
Right.
Maybe I'm gonna tweet to him. I haven't gone to Twitter in 6 months, but maybe I should go back to Twitter just to tweet him and see if I get some lead that way. But yeah.
But back to these team buildings that you do, I'm fascinated. So you said gratitude is important, purpose is important. Are there any other elements that you bring to those?
Yeah, I mean,
workshops.
You know, so storytelling is part of the purpose, and the only one I bring sometimes, not always, is transparency, right? So one mistake seems to do organization, they like couples do, or like any entity, basically they put the problems away, when the truth is you have to talk about what doesn't work. You know, no one works perfectly. I mean, I have a wife, it's not all perfect, it's not all roses, right? So you need at some point to talk, right? You need to have a hard conversation. The best way to have a hard conversation in an entity is to bring humor, comedy. So the way I bring transparency when it doesn't work is you bring with comedy. So what I do is I create, you know, I used to be a stand-up comedian. At some point, I spent 5 years as a stand-up comic. And what I do is I make them create a little scenario, little screenplays on comedy, on problems of the actual company right now. So we decide together. I have a process to understand what are the real problem now. Okay, be transparent. What doesn't work? And other ways, so they liberate, and like we talk about it. And I'm like, and now let's have fun with it. So we make basically some sort of stand-up comedy, but all the time people laugh. And everyone is born creative. Everyone, telling you, everyone, because of school, because of parents, because of society, thinks they are just boring people, right? Basically. And no, everyone is a creative. They just die down to creativity, right?
Yeah.
For me, I didn't grow up with a perfect childhood. My childhood was actually tough, but I left at 16 years old. And thanks God I left, right? Thanks God. I don't know what would have happened to me if I didn't leave home with what happened at home. And I understood at some point in my life, oh yeah, I need to use humor and comedy. So what I do is you bring comedy, tweeting of what doesn't work in the company, what is not the, and again, each company has different hurdles.
And I can imagine some people listening to that, they might sound quite daunting, but you said you had a particular way that you were able to get people to engage in that.
It works because once there is, there's a word, there's a few good French words. I mean, like bienveillance. I love this French word, which is basically, it doesn't happen much in the French companies, strange enough. It might have happened 100 years ago. Now, after 3 years in France, unfortunately, it's not there. So bienveillance means taking care of people and creating an incubator of well-being, right, around you. So if you create that, everyone feel at ease because remember, everyone wants to belong something higher to themselves. Everyone, right? You all want. I mean, all 90% of people, right? So every time I work with a company, I'll say, I'm going to work on 90%. Bring everyone, please. Don't force them to come to a team building. First rule, don't force anyone. Tell them it's a day during the week, not the weekends. If you don't want, you stay at home.
Right.
I'm going to give you a distinction of who gives a fuck about your company, basically, first. So it's a good thing, right? And then, once you have the people, you just have to understand 10%, even those who come. Because so 10% of people actually absolutely don't care about emotion, life purpose, those things. 10% of people, any countries. I work in 30 countries, from Pakistan, Dubai, Ecuador, you name it, right? 10% of people actually don't care about emotions, don't care.
Yeah.
And they just go in a company, want their paycheck, and they're fun with their friends and family on weekends. They're just here for the money.
Yeah.
And it's fine. I'm not here to judge them. I cannot transform them. Don't ask me to work with someone like that. I cannot change it. It doesn't, and of course you find more of those people in finance, right?
Yeah.
And this is why I left finance early. My first 2 years were in finance. I have a master's degree in finance. And sometime I'm invited in, especially fintech event. I was at this big fintech event in Colombia. There is my talk somewhere. And I say, the real currency is not money, it's purpose. Purpose is the new currency. You can Google my talk somewhere. But I know, of course, maybe 30% of finance people, I cut totally from their emotion, 30%.
Yeah.
Right. So I said, I'm so happy to be invited in this conference, and I'm doing it because I'm paid and I'm loved to transmit my energy. But I know some of you will absolutely don't like what I have to say. So please, basically, I don't say get the fuck out, but I say, please feel free to leave now and not listen to me. Please, I wait 2 minutes. You're not going to like me. I'm too crazy, too passionate, too emotional. You don't believe in this. If you don't believe in humanity, please leave the room. I will not be offended. I'd rather speak to people who like what I have to say. I'm going to speak to everyone, but of course, I'm highly sensitive. I do this job, but I'm still highly sensitive. So I'd like to have good energy from the room. My job is going to be more difficult if I have, opposite energy. I'll work with it, and I work through it. But it's so I did that. A few people get out, and I was super happy. I said, "Thank you so much, guys." And so there is in some industry, of course, in some top CEOs, obviously, and I understand. I was part of a fellowship in New York, great fellowship, and it's called Startup Leadership Program. It's a fellowship on a tech entrepreneur, and I'm still movement. They are around the world and UK as well. I think they're in UK as well. And we learned the psychology of being an entrepreneur. And basically, if you want to have a huge company, like, over 500 employee at least, you cannot develop. It's very hard if you have a really high empathy for people. So you're going to have to, and same thing, if you have a high creativity. I learned very young when I was 24, 25, 26, I don't remember. In my 20s, I worked for 6 months only before I get fired into a recruiting company. And I learned one good thing. Basically, I'm too creative of a guy to be a top CEO of a company. I will never be a top CEO. I'm too creative. I have too many ideas. It's impossible, right? If you have too much empathy for people and too much creative idea, you cannot be a CEO. A CEO, you have to just take decision and just cut yourself from emotion. And I'm like, okay, so at least I erased that when I was 24, 25. Okay, I'll never be a top CEO. It's impossible. It goes against who I am. I can still create a company, maybe up to probably 200 people, but still going to be, that's why I never had a team over 50 people to manage in my life, right? Actually, I think probably, and I would have to have a really good COO next to me. So it's very hard, right? And I understand they have decision to make. I mean, if you're sensitive, how are you going to manage thousands of people? You can't. It's going to be very difficult for you. So you need to have a guy like me next to you. You need an operation guy, but you need a human guy, whatever you call it, right? Like I'm part-time and I just install. You don't have the time, right? So I understood doing the fellowship. I understand during my time as a recruiter that I was too creative to be a top CEO one day. And I understand my time at the startup leadership program that in my way of dealing with employee now, I would just have to be aware of who I am, right? I cannot be what I am not. So, and it goes back to 20% of people don't know who they are. Can you believe 20%? Only 20% of people know who they are, like really know their strengths and weaknesses. 80% of people, including managers, don't know what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses. You can't go against your weaknesses. Only work your strength. Your weaknesses, you have to be aware. I'll never be an accountant tomorrow. Never. You'll have to kill me first, right? It's impossible. So, we have a very good word in French. It's called déployer. To déployer ses forces, to deploy, how to deploy your strength, right? That's it. You need to take your strength, how you can make them better without creating too much tumult, too much. But maybe I'm going sidetracked now too.
No, but I'm. This all makes a huge amount of sense. I mean, one thought that came to mind as you were speaking there, I think you're right. In the very large organizations, as they tend to be run today, it's difficult to be a CEO and have that empathy and sensitivity, and you probably need at some level to sort of cut off from emotion in order to make the sheer volume of decisions you've got to make in a day, let's say. But I suppose my question to you would be, for those organizations who've developed very high levels of autonomy, and actually the CEO doesn't do a lot, there isn't really a hierarchy they're now in charge of, they don't do a lot of decision making. It seems to me that if you're in that style of organization, you can retain your empathy and sensitivity as CEO.
Totally. I mean, a name that comes to mind is Abdullah Elias, Saudi, born, raised in Germany, co-founder of Kareem, the number one startup of the Middle East in Dubai. They sold a company for like $3 billion a few years ago. And I was lucky enough to be their leadership coach for a few years before they get sold. Became very friend with the guy. The guy is superhuman. but they had 3,000 employee, extremely. But before the remote things was fashion, their employee could be remote, and now it's 100% remote company.
Wow.
Super successful, 3,000 people, no obligation to be at the office.
Wow.
Absolutely. So those guys were able to create the number one startup not in the world, in the Middle East, be very successful, yet be very human. So I've met some of those guys. I mean, I've met exceptional, rare.
Yeah. But coming back to this role of transforming organization, the chief happiness officer. So you're doing these workshops. It's about gratitude, purpose, transparency. How do you then have a sustainable impact on the culture after that event? What are the kind of practices that you advocate for companies to take through the organization?
Well, first is to create a team of positive, again, what I said in the beginning, but positive influencer means, so once the manager get the messages, you need to find who are those guys and women in the company able to carry out that message. So you need to create your mercenaries, right, in the company, that no matter what, they're going to be their mission, their purpose on the top of their work, right? So they agree to spend 2-3 hours a week on that, right? And there is some finance guy who I found who really passionate by humanity too. So even though I said 30%, it could be anyone. It could be secretary, it could be the CFO, it could be the CEO, you name it. You have no idea. Until you really find you have those conversations. So you need to create those people. Actually, the term positive influencer doesn't even come from me. It doesn't come from one of the company I worked with called Novo Nordisk. I don't know if you know that big.
I've heard. Yeah.
Really good company in terms of, it seems anyway. I worked with them a few times I only work with them as a keynote speaker on storytelling, how to create stories for your employee. They're like 30, 40,000 people around the world. But they seem to have, at least in the European Novo Nordisk offices, they've created a positive influencer. I was, explaining the way I work, and this is how we call our guys. I'm like, oh, I love it. This is what I never knew a term to really express what I was putting into places. This is the term. So this is what they do, right? They look for their methodology, which I love. For them, it's to find anonymously who are the people that give well-being to others. Who are those people? So they send survey, and people they report names, and then they get a lot of names, and they start with that. So they gather, they make sort of meetings of the minds of those. I mean, I did it because they actually get me for one of their annual gathering of the 100 positive influencer.
Interesting, right? They bring them together for a gathering, yeah.
Right, and my work was to coach them on how to be even a better one, right? How to use storytelling. In my case, that's what they hired me that day. So you need to create your team, and then you go back on your values. You need to create a chart, right? So, a very light chart, not too much constraint, right? But basically what they value, what you can, what you cannot do in the company, but it should not be like one time I worked with a company and they gave me a 30-page rules for the company. It's like, so exhausting, I can imagine on onboarding day, the employees to read that, too much. So you need to have a light one. I don't know how many pages, as light as possible, the do and don'ts in terms of values, rules of the company, which the psychological safety rules, basically, of the company, right? I don't know if you've studied, if you've worked, you came across in your work of the Google study called psychological safety.
Yeah, we had Amy Edmondson on the show. Yeah, she developed the idea. Yeah,
all about this. So basically, it's just how to create a culture of respect, compassion, of listening between the employee, between the management employee, and And once you get that, you still need to have annual gatherings, so semi-annual gathering where you update people on what else they can do, right? And it's like everything else. Like it's like I have a coach, right? Even if you know the good things, I still go and see someone else, as every coach should have a coach, to remind me of what I tell to people, remind me of what I do is important in day-to-day practice. Yeah, basically keep going, right? So you need to have someone updating you. And one of the reasons company hire me often just come down to renewing passion and purpose. How to renew passion, purpose. Everyone lose it. I had the chance to work over and over with the UN, many parts of the world, and every time something, those guys, they came with mission, purpose. They were 23, 25 years old, but sometime at the director level, when they're 45, 50, they're like, am I still the right thing? How am I doing? Now there's red tape. You just remind them you came for a good reason, you can stay for a good reason, everything is good. It's a bit more complex now, you're the director level. You just remind yourself why you're here. Just like an artist, right? An artist needs to remind himself why he's in front of the blank page. Should he stop to be a writer because today no idea is coming? No. This is his life work, life mission. I am in front of the white page. It's okay. I'm staying 2 hours in front of the white page. It's okay, right? A writer who cannot stay in front of a white page is not a writer anymore.
Yeah.
No writer has a continuous idea, things he wants to tell the world. Sometimes it's empty. Okay? It's empty. I stay in front of the page and then I go live my life because maybe I have nothing to say because I have not like a full life. You need to go back in life. It's just like a coach who has not done enough work on himself or something as a stand-up comedian, right? When a stand-up comedian has not lived enough, it's the prime of many successful stand-up comedians. They've been on the road, and the only thing they talk about is being on the road. Not so funny anymore. Okay, don't be on the road. Don't fill out stadium for a while, and go and live a life. Just a normal life. But then you'll be funny anymore. Again, you'll see the shitty things happen, not just shitty things happen on tour, the same story over and over. Everyone needs to go back to what does it mean to be alive? What fulfills me? Whether it's an organization, whether it's an artist, or whether it's a coach. Because basically the basically three main people I worked with are mostly I'm hired by a CEO, L&D manager, right, learning and development, or coaches to be how to be a better coach, or I still work with artists, and because I used to be an artist myself, and I still like to consider myself as an artist. So I understand where they're coming from, right? So I can work with them because I've been in their shoes, and I'm still in their shoes, right? In those, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a coach, and when I speak, it's still an artistic thing, right? Some keynote speaker lose the passion to speak. Why I'm speaking? Remind yourself why you become a keynote speaker in the first place. You want to put seeds in people's mind. This is why you're here. You want to start a conversation with them. You're not a coach. When you're a speaker, you're not a coach, right? Because you can't transform, most likely. You just speak for an hour. Really hard to transform. But you can put seeds. This is the only reason you're a good speaker. And you can keep doing so. If you lose that, you need to go back to why you're doing what you do, right? The Simon Sinek thing, you need to go back to basis, right? The basis.
Yeah, so it seems like you're creating this space for people to introspect, to come back into their souls, to figure out why it is they're here, what's going to make them passionate, to these fundamental questions, and just giving people the space for that.
It's so interesting. When I used to be for 6 months a coach in residence, right, for that company,
Yeah.
that Cité du Vin in Bordeaux, right, the biggest wine museum in the world. 30% when I found, I coached 100 employees. 30% of the people I coached during that 6 months period, which were not my usual people I coach, right, which is usually a CEO type of people that come to me. Those guys were anywhere from stagiaires, interns, secretaries to the CEO. 30% of people, when I say, give yourself some space where you have nothing to do, not your spouse, you're not your kids, not tasks to do. 30% of people find their creativity. 31, sorry, huge. Oh, I start doing music again. Oh, I'm starting to write. I start to do culture. Yes, we were all born to creative. Even people who have never been creative. When you go,
that's remarkable, yeah.
And creativity is as the base of anything. If you don't find your creative source, which is the life force, really, your life force is creativity. You don't need to be a full-time artist. You do not need to quit your job and be a full-time artist. You need to find creativity. Even if it's 10 minutes singing in the morning in your shower before your work, thinking of a CEO I used to work, and it's like, oh, and now he feels better. It's nothing, 10 minutes. He probably doesn't know how to sing. He'll never be a singer. Makes him feel good.
Yeah.
You need to find where is the creativity in your work, where I can deploy it, so I can just. I'm a full-fledged, let's say, human being.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to be you need to encompass everything you are about. You cannot abnegate. You cannot forbid part of yourself. You cannot deny who you are unless you are part of that 10% of people, right? Who don't care about emotion, creativity. It's just some people are just born as a machine. I don't know if it's the DNA, the way they were born. 90% of us need emotion, need creativity. So how you can bring it back to your life? Do you find a way to bring creativity in your work? Are you developing an artistic labor of some sort on the side of your job? Like what you do. It's an artistic.
Yeah. This podcast is a way of me, having a creative expression, right? But this sounds to me back to Oranda, right? This keeping the fires burning, right? That's the word. That word really seems to bring forth what you're talking about.
Right. It's what the Japanese, I spent 4 years in Japan, they call it the ki. That's why the Chinese, I spent 18 months in China, they call it the chi, right? This energy, this just, in French, we call it la substantifique moelle. Every culture, I don't know, is there I'm sure there's one expression.
Yeah,
in you,
well,
that thing.
Yeah, the English, right? They must be there. It doesn't surprise me that it's not coming quickly to my mind.
Right, because there must be, and I love to learn what's in every culture they have one thing, right? I mean, every culture have an expression to get it out. I don't know which one is in the UK, but I spent a month in Tanzania doing humanitarian work 12 years ago, and that's how I start my story coaching career. And they had an expression, Kwa mimi agapa. I think it's Kwa mimi agapa, which means, what is it you're afraid of?
Right.
I loved it. What is it you're afraid of when someone is, just in a very calmly way? What is it you're really afraid of, right? Because we're all afraid of something. I mean, most people spend their life being recognized. Their goal is to be recognized to people that don't really matter to them.
So true.
It's so crazy, right? They spend their life doing the work by people that don't really matter to them. when people that matter to them, they would rather be super happy. I think they're a creative force, but they are sort of ashamed of whatever they are. And I'm talking about, it can be someone born in an artistic family. His passion is numbers and he wants to be a finance guy, but his family were artistic. And he thinks he has to be a writer, or an actor, or sculptor. No, he needs to be a numbers guy. And it's fine. This is where he finds this thing, right? So whatever path we need to find, like some of my friends, like a CEO type, and they think, I don't know why I'm obsessed with is it bad? Is I'm obsessed with money? And usually it comes down, it's just money, but many times it's just deal making. I'm like, no, you're just really good in deal making. That makes you extremely happy. That gives you some, the dopamine, everyone talk about the serotonin, that gives you that. Deal makers, keep doing deal maker. But you don't need to be an ass to people, but this is your strength. You're a deal maker. It's a great thing. I mean, I'd love to be a better deal maker in my own life. All right. I'm okay, I think, as a deal maker, but I'm not the best. It's not my strength. So you just, this is where you get your gist, but that thing that keep you. That's why those guys, we think, how do they make tens of millions of dollars after but they love that deal making, that moment where everything comes to force and they get the signature after a month, 2 months, 2 years work, to get $100 million project. And, for me, I'm fascinated by those guys. That's their thing.
Yeah.
And it's a great thing to have. That's their thing. So what is your thing, right? Put it down and be okay. Be okay with it. This is your strength.
Yeah.
This is the goal, just to find what gives you energy, because we keep talking about burnout now. They say 50% of employees are in burnout, right? And I'm sure UK is no different than France or US. Right now, I'm mostly reading on what's happening in France, US, somewhat the Middle East, somewhat Latin America, Japan. But I follow less the UK market, although I hope to be in London for the BEAT show. It's called. It's the biggest show in education technology. Happens to be in London in 30 and 31st of March. The best in the world, I think, one of the best. I really hope I can go to London for that one. So yeah, I'm sure they're the same, right? 50% of the people are burnout, and burnout usually comes from people being very conscientious, waiting for the recognition of people that don't come, right? There's two particularity we find with people burnout. One, they are conscientious type. They do what they've been told and they do it well, but they don't get the recognition they want. And sometimes there's a third trait, and that's when it goes off track, really. It's when what they're conscientious about is actually has nothing, they're doing a work they were not supposed to do in their life. It's not their substantific moral, their Orlando, their chi, their key. So then, all together, working like crazy for something which is not you, for people that don't recognize you, yes, you burn out. You need to quit your job now before it's too late and you die. So quit out now. You don't care what people are going to say. You don't care what your family are going to say. And you don't care what your spouse are going to say. It's your life. It's your survival. I always say, people think of your gas tank when you're in the car, when it goes to red, right? Just when it goes to red, this is when you need to stop and slow down, not when you run out of gas and you're middle of the highway and then, you're fucked. Basically, you might have an accident. No, do it before, right? Just when it goes to the red, you still have 40 kilometers to go, maybe 50 kilometers. Don't do those 50 kilometers on I have to find I still have 50 kilometers to find a gas station. No. Find the first gas station. go. And same thing with your life. Stop now, slow down. And I'm talking to, everyone. I'm including myself, right? So I understood a few years ago, right? When I became a coach, of course, I had done a lot of work on myself, but I did much more, right? And if I'm going to coach people, I need to really get a good grasp of who I am. So I am a highly sensitive, but I'm also high sensation seeker. I love adrenaline. And the mixed it's a great cocktail, but it's also could be dangerous, which means someone like me, I need to have a lot of interesting meeting, interesting experience. But then I feel every single thing I do, right? My emotion are the top. So I need then to slow down, right? And then, okay, like someone who's just highly high sensation guy, he can just go on and on. If he's not highly sensitive, then he can just keep going. Adventure after adventure, crazy thing after. I cannot. I need to take a break. Or if I have like 4 exciting meetings during the day, I cannot have 5. It will be too much for my mind. I'm highly stimulated. Then it's too much.
Yeah.
Right? Then I need to stop. So it's always going down to what is work with yourself. That's why I probably could not be the top CEO of the world, right? I was reading about Carlos Ghosn, the Lebanese guy, used to be head of Renault, who escaped from Japan, right? Escape to Lebanese.
Yeah.
And I love Japan, but I know that the Japanese want him out, right? I think it's, the guy, he was a brain, right? I mean, he was a super brain. And I'd love to speak to him one day to understand his brain. And he said, I mean, the guy was, at his work from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And he said, you need such a stamina from going from high stake meeting to high stake meeting nonstop in a day. I would not be able to do that. I would need a break. I mean, I could do for a month, maybe, max. I could not do for a year. I would need a break. This is why I'm lucky enough to have chosen the career I have, but I've also chosen the career I have as a coach, entrepreneur, speaker, where when I really need a break, well, I'll take a break. I take 8 days totally off. The phone is off. I tell my client, I tell my wife, I need to go to a spiritual place, meditation, vegetables, no coffee, no alcohol, just slow down. I do absolutely nothing. And it's because I've done work on who I am. It's the basis. Who are you? How do you find your energy? How do you find your drive?
Yeah. And that's a so much more enlightened way of looking at burnout, right? It's not the number of hours that you're doing. It's not even necessarily aspects of your lifestyle. It's, am I connected to my purpose? Do I know myself, right? Yeah. Am I getting recognition for what I'm doing? Those are far more important questions than how many hours am I working, right?
Yes, it's quality hours. I mean, same thing with your kids, right? I have a almost 5-year-old kid. Now I was too much. I was until a few months ago, I was playing because I'm an older dad, right? I got a kid after I turned 40. So of course I don't have the energy of a 20-year-old dad, but I would play with him until exhaustion. I need to be the best dad I can. Until I would fall asleep before him. I'd be like, Kaden, his name is Kaden. I have nothing.
Okay.
I'm dead. I just have nothing. And now I put limit. I say, Kaden, I have no energy today. I'm going to play with you 20 minutes. I'll put the timer. I still want to play. I owe you. I think I owe him that every day to play with him. It's my, benchmark. I know him. I owe him 40 minutes a day. This is my benchmark. I owe him 40 minutes of play. And on weekends, of course, much more. But at least if I do my 40 hours and I've done my quality time. But if I've not, the day was too stressful, if I didn't do my workout, the quality of time I spend with him won't be as good. Then it doesn't matter what I give him, right? it's better he's even almost watching a video next to his dad than be his dad half there. No, if I'm with Kaden, I have to be fully present. I want him to remember, hopefully his age, with his dad and something I didn't necessarily have in my life. So I want him to have those experience, quality. Same thing with your employee, with everyone around you. You need to. So that even though when I work in team buildings, for instance, I told them, it's all about the teamwork, Yet, guys, please, I've talked about how to be in a team, but if you need times alone, tell your colleagues, you don't need to eat with your colleagues every day. Tell them, oh, but I do. That's what I do. No, tell them I need this week to be all by myself. Mentally, it's just tough right now. I got a lot of things, and it's okay. Just call me, and if they don't get it, they don't get it. Deal with it.
Yeah.
You need your own space. So it's not about just being a team. No. You also need your time off, even though you are with a team, or ask your team. And that's why I love those like Monday morning stand-up kickoff where everyone talk about how they feel, why they feel. And the manager don't need to be a therapist, don't even need to be a coach. He just listen to the guys, and the guys say, I feel really good. Give him more work. He wants to be challenged. And the guy say, it's okay. It's okay. Okay, just be a bit more compassionate this week to him, to her.
Yeah.
Just give him, we go through cycle. I understand. Then it takes so much more work from managers. But we are in an era where with the quiet quitting, the great resignation, anyway, they're going to leave. So don't give them that. You'll see in 6 months. The young generation, right? The 20, 22 years old, they're like, it's going to be really hard to keep them around, right? If you don't give them, they're only going to go with bosses, manager who are respective of their leadership qualities, their fundamental needs, the needs of their soul, basically.
Yeah.
Those that respect it, well, they're not going to stay long. I mean, it's fascinating what's happening.
Yeah. It reminds me of that guy, which is he's the like the head of one of the big retail chains in the US, lamenting that there are no go-getters, right? Right. He couldn't build his business today, because there's no go-getters. Was it Ben?
Peter Diamant, co-founder of Singularity.
No, not him. No. He was. I mean, he may have also been saying that, but this guy, it was Walgreens or something like that. Anyway, one of the big retail chains, and like he couldn't build it up because they were just one of the people like that. Is it that there are no go-getters, or that people are much more aware now of their intrinsic motivations? They're much more in tune with what they really want to do with their lives and where they want to go. And maybe your big corporation isn't going to meet those needs anymore.
I think they're much more in tune. I think there's the same numbers of go-getters, absolutely ambitious as before. I mean, I in Bordeaux, where I'm based, all the business school wanted me to do an intervention in the school. And I had talked with all the directors, and most directors have been at the job for 20 years, and they've seen the motivation of students. So they all tell me the same thing. It's about 8%. They told me it's funny. Between 5 and 10%, and many of them told me 8% of students ultra motivated, and they know they're going to be superstar when they leave the school. They're going to be superstar, right? Not because of the grades, just because all the grades, all their personality, or something about them. They want it. They want life. They want it. And they say, but the rest right now, it seems, so the rest just they are not there, right? They're like zombies. But most of them, because they are thinking, I think my guess, my take, they really figure out their life maybe a bit too soon because they haven't worked yet. So I think, I think it's good to have a couple of years experience, but anyway, they all want to figure it out now. I think it's a bit too soon, but This is the world we live in. So they're all trying to figure out now what's, where am I, what's my purpose? How can I serve the goal better? That doesn't mean they are better than us, or what. They really want, and they don't want to lose time. That's why they work less in company. That's why they do less effort. Yes, they work less because they don't believe they should work an hour for a company that don't respect their needs and help them to go where they want to go. It's so crazy. It's so crazy to us.
But I think we can really lean into this in business culture. And a great example is you mentioned Super Engaged earlier. Well, we had the author of the book called Super Engaged, Nikki Gattenby. She's was the MD of a marketing firm here in the UK called PropellerNet, based on the South Coast, and their intake interview is a dream. It's a dream consultation, right? And this is like not what you're dreaming at night. Is what are the dreams for your life? Like whatever it is, not just like in business, but in your life. And then the part of the purpose of the company is to ensure your dreams are fulfilled. And they've done things like done a joint venture with a safari firm in Namibia to realize the dreams of one of the employees to go on safari. Not only did they fulfill on that, they had them work for an entire year in a safari in Namibia because they became like the marketing arm of this safari company in order to fulfill this one employee's dream. Like that's the level they'll take it. Another guy wanted to like write a play. So the whole company came together to put on a show at the Edinburgh Festival in Scotland. And this is now a touring show around festivals of the UK to make this one employee's dreams of being a scriptwriter come reality.
I'm writing it down. So the book was called Super Engaged, and the name of the person is what?
Nikki Gattenby. She's now left, but she and the company is called PropellerNet.
How do you spell this?
So like a propeller on the end of a boat, propeller, and then net.
Okay.
PropellerNet.
Fascinating, a lot.
Yeah, and that's the level I think that's how you solve the problem of no go-getters, right? Everybody wants something they want to get after. It's just, is your company set up to have them be a go-getter in your company, right? I think that's the question. And now people might say, oh, well, they're a marketing firm. They can do that. They're a creative agency. But my assertion is that you can create some form of that in any business.
Fascinating. It's the best job interview I've heard. First job interview technique I've heard so far.
Yeah.
Yes. And then that's just more in tune. They want to find out. I mean, my interns. Last year I had an intern for communication, and she came extremely shy. She wanted to work with me because I had a name in personal growth, and I don't care where they school from. I was just interviewing them on their potential. She did a Skype with me, very shy, like 19 years old, 20 years old. And she came to see the first meeting with her mom. And I'm like, oh my God, you have a mom for a job. But, I decided to give her a shot. So she helped. She did good for 1 year, but she learned all my techniques seeing me on stage. And now she launched herself after 1 year. She was like really shy girl from a local small village in France, just reading on personal growth, never just reading about it. She seeked me out, I want to work with you. And then now she's launching herself after 1 year as a speaker and keynote speaker. As a keynote speaker and coach, she's doing good. She's doing
Brilliant.
Good. As a speaker and a coach and a keynote speaker. She's got clients in 3 months, keynotes. Incredible.
Wow.
So everyone, it just, and I understood, of course, that they came and helped me in my company. We launched a personal growth platform called Humanava. We do masterclasses on personal growth, on emotional intelligence, on diversity and inclusion and stuff like this. So it's a ed tech startup, right? We based out of Bordeaux. So I was, for the last 2 years, I was, I was doing much less coaching, much less keynote speaking, right? But I'm back on the circuit for the last few months because I miss too much keynote speaking. And even coaching, I decide to have one client a month. So I'm taking just one CEO a month, a few hours, just so I can keep a way on the ground. And even keynote, I do 2 keynotes a month, and I'm good. I satisfy my need for, right? So, what I need is just, so again, so why you attract people, right? So I attract, even though it's a ed tech startup, I didn't attract the best, I guess business mind or engineer, but I attract, of course, the people that all wanted, many of them wanted to become, unconsciously, they wanted to become a coach and speaker, because that's why I am that's why I incarnate, that's what I embrace, that's why I embody, right? So now I think to do the hiring for more business people, actually I'm going to have my CEO hiring the more very business person, right? So I have less people that just want to be like me or at least what they think I am, right? But they just want to help the firm just not be like part of me is outside, right? So it's fascinating, but that was her unconscious dream, right?
Yeah.
And really understand, the unconscious dream, but of course, if I backtrack, would I still hire her? Yeah, I would still have hire her because that's the way she learned and she became good in communicating. But for her, that was just a tool. She communicate on what I did, helped me with journalists. So she learned everything I was doing a part of. And that's how she found a life mission, right?
Yeah.
So you need to surround that. That's what she did. She did the best thing. She surrounded herself with, I don't say one of the best person in the field, but with someone who's very active in the field of personal growth, right? So, someone said, if you want a flower to grow, you don't try to change the flower. You put the flower into an environment where she can blossom.
Yes.
Right. So a fertile environment where there is enough sun, enough humidity, where she can bloom. Right. Vineyards are in the sun region of the world. They cannot grow everywhere. Where the growing, where the slope, where the amount of sun, the amount of rain, sort of mixed. Right. Of course, with everything technology, I'm sure now we'll have vineyards everywhere in March, maybe with technology if we want. But for now, if we want to use natural things, well, or someone else said, you cannot. What is it? If you want to hire someone to go on the top of the trees very fast, you don't hire a dog, you hire a squirrel, someone who naturally even if he's a baby squirrel, very soon he's going to learn naturally to go to the top of the tree. This is the people you need to find to hire. Don't go against the grain, right? Go with their natural talent and nurture them, right?
Yeah.
Just like you need to nurture yourself. You need to nurture others.
Yeah. 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 That makes a lot of sense. And I love that. I've not heard that metaphor before of, the squirrel versus the dog.
Yeah.
I like that.
I mean, this is stupid, right? It's a really stupid example, but yet see so many people, they don't try to use a squirrel to do a squirrel job. Why? I mean, do someone just incline. He doesn't have done the best school. He or she doesn't have went to the best school, the best resume. Just is inclined, is naturally. This is where his strength part is, and keep him around, keep her around. Even if you don't, if he does his job correctly. I'm also thinking in terms of entity. I was working with this firm once, and one girl was not, she was maybe not as good as everyone else in the team for this very high performance team. I don't know if she was just not as smart, but she was the cheerleader of the group. And she kept the group together. She was the glue. I'm like, kept her around. they need her. If they don't have her, the rest of the group, they're going to leave. They don't know they need her. She's the one because she has a laugh and she makes people comfortable. You need to keep her around. It could have been a girl, it could have been a guy, but it's just everyone's got this their mission, their raison d'être. French we call it, right?
Yeah.
Reason to be, reason of being, and it can change also. Some people make a mistake. Oh, it's just purpose. No, purpose can change also. But right now, I just did a talk on authenticity in the Middle East months ago. And I talked about why I changed so many times career because my purpose changed. And so many people are afraid of change because they say, oh, it's not me. I'm going to be inauthentic. No, you're authentic if you choose to believe, to follow your purpose now. What is your purpose now? Like, what is it that your soul must want now? This is what you have to do.
Yeah.
And for all of us, it's for some people like sports guys, they're, play soccer and like Mbappe. I'm just thinking of this young Mbappe guy who, the world French guy is amazing at soccer, or Lionel Messi is just, they were born to do that. Those guys, they've done that since they were 6 years old, 8 years old. They might do some other things like Zidane in soccer is becoming one of the best trainer of the world, right? He was one of the world champion soccer, the French soccer player, and now he's becoming one of the top trainer in the world. I think he's worked for Barcelona or some club in Spain. So he's got two purposes. He was one of the best soccer player, now he's becoming the best trainer. But it's very exceptional. Usually a football player or best trainer, very few guys have done the two. Very few. And just to accept your purpose now. What is your purpose now and next year? And it might not change, and it's fine. And it might keep changing, and it's fine too. Authenticity is to say keep saying yes to how you want to show up to the world.
Yeah, that makes sense. And my own experience with doing self-work is it means that my value set change. The more I work on myself, the more I tend to shift. My values change. I noticed that certain things were driven by something in my childhood. I resolve that. I'm not driven in that direction anymore. So part of doing self-work is very often what emerges is, okay, I need to take a new direction, a new purpose. This is who I am now. This is what I need to be doing in the world. And
the river, right? The river.
Yeah.
The river is a really good metaphor, right? Where is the boat just gonna go, and you're not gonna go against the current. Don't go against the current unless you're forced to. Sometimes we're forced to accomplish something. You go against the current for like a very limited period of time. But tell yourself it's okay, right? It's okay to go against the current for just a limited period of time. Not everything needs to be roses, but most things need to be in the flow. Most things.
And if you don't, then it's the burnout or diseases and, all the rest.
Burnout, depression. Depression is usually the pressure is too much, right? Pressure is too much. Then you just, it's very different from burnout. The burnout, you might still have some desire. The depression, you have no desire. You don't see the point of talking to someone, doing any kind of job. Why going outside? The world is so fucked. You don't see but burnout is some people, they have no more energy. They drain. They use their energy in the wrong way, and they should not feel guilty about. This is just what happened. They should just take it as it's a way to let's see where I'm at and what's important to me, and I can still be conscientious, but in what matters to me. We have a class of burnout prevention on our personal growth platform, and the woman was a former who teaches is the former human resource director. She just could not take it. At some point, she was so conscientious, and she just felt like most. Her body like must burn out. I just could not get up, could not do. She was forced to see reality. But if she backtracks, there were so many signs, but they don't want to see. They just say, dismissed. They dismiss the sign. We know, right? And when you're aware, when you've done so much work on yourself, you see the sign. You see your gas tank going low. You stop the car. You stop your life. And if you have to cancel all your meetings in the next few hours, you cancel them. The world's going to go on without you, right? Right. I think once we understand also that no matter what we do, the world's going to go on. I mean, even as a coach or keynote speaker or entrepreneur, people can replace me. I think I'm quite good in any of those three areas, but I'm replaceable. I'm good at what I do, but I'm replaceable and do what I can. Now the world's going to confront. If for some reason, I have to cancel I canceled once a keynote, great keynote. It was supposed to be in Dakhla. Dakhla is one of the kite surf heaven of the world in north of Morocco.
Okay.
Amazing place. It was supposed to be with top 500 global entrepreneur from Europe gathering together, and I was going to be the top speaker. So it would have been an amazing experience, and I wanted to learn kite surf. Gorgeous place. I would have on the top of a paycheck, I would have gained so much clients. Now, the day before, my dad was admitted to a hospital. The reason I came to France is my dad is Alzheimer. And he had a new prime sort of mini stroke. Now I can't. I mean, at least he was alive. My dad was alive. But now I'm not going to go tomorrow. I'm like, what do you mean you're supposed to be the keynote speaker? I'm saying, I'm sorry, I need to be next to my dad now. I would have, I knew he was he was going to survive that one. I just could not see myself talking and inspiring the next day people in, a few hundred kilometers from my home. There was no way, even though that was an amazing experience to live. But it's okay. I choose the right thing in the right moment, and I don't regret. I say it's sad, but I did the right amount of thing in the amount of time I have being who I am with my own values. Yeah, it's my dad. I need to be in. I want him to see me next day at hospital. Most likely he's going to survive, but and I'm too sad. I'm just so. I would not give a good keynote. I would not. I would have probably not performed well. Some guy not highly sensitive like me. I've heard of artists. I know of one artist in France, Serge Lama, singer. I don't think he's known in UK, but I heard that one time he had to sing, and his dad just died 2 hours before the show, big show, and he said, "I need to go on." And great. And maybe I would have done if it's 2 hours before, because the keynote and people are in the room, maybe I would have done the keynote. And the day before, I would have canceled as a singer, but maybe he's in a different state, or for him, he gets so much energy from the room that night. He could just transcend that thing, but we're all different, right?
Yeah.
And he did an amazing show. He didn't tell people. I don't want them to feel sad for it. I just want them to give them the show they want. And then he grieved the next day. And then he took time off from the road. But he went on and just blocked off the sadness to give an amazing performance. We all different. We all have a different way to react to things, and we just have to accept when again the gas is low.
Back to authenticity and being honest with ourselves, and having integrity about what our energy is and what we're capable of.
If you want to Google my talk on authenticity, the forum was Global MISC Forum, because I don't think you can. If you type Google my name plus authenticity, you're going to find it. But you just put Global MISC Forum, MISK. That's my name. You're going to find my last keynote on that topic. And And again, I say I changed many times career because my purpose had gone. I mean, and it's fine. And it's fine. It's I release whatever I had to release to, some people say the goal of life is to heal. And I think it's partially true. It's just to heal. We're all born with suffering, and it doesn't mean it's not a happy life. I talk on happiness, and I love happiness and love joy. Of course, I love pleasure. Yet, I'm aware of suffering, and I'm aware I still need to heal, and I'm probably going to have to heal numbers of things until I die, right? And it's just the way it is, And again, it goes back to purpose, right? Purpose, and find joy. Find purpose, find joy. And it's not opposite. It's the part of joy in life, whatever you enjoy, and part, I think, of joy. Does everything make sense? Or?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I absolutely buy that the healing. I mean, I think healing is one of the most valuable things we can do, not just for ourselves, but for all of the future generations, all the generations back. I mean, healing is, and I don't know if you can get to authenticity without healing, right? I mean, I think part of developing authenticity is healing the parts of you which cause you to be inauthentic.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. The more you help, the more you be authentic. And also, the more you are authentic, you forcing yourself to do something else, the more you heal too, right? You just, I don't know if I can move to this country I want, or it's too difficult. I have a wife and kid to move, and go find a way. Then you'll be more authentic, right? The environment was difficult. I did it, and all of a sudden I breathe. I'm at peace with myself, a little bit more peace. It's just, but yeah, you need to heal to be authentic, and the more you're authentic, also, the more you heal. It's a fascinating journey, right?
Yeah, it reminds me of self-development is easy. You just have to do what's hard. And I think
yes.
that being authentic sometimes is steeling yourself to say the thing you really want to say.
Yeah.
There's healing in that. There's growth in that. And then you've just broken through another barrier, and now you're like a new plane of authenticity, and the next opportunity will emerge to speak your truth at a different level.
I don't know if you read or heard about David Goggins in US.
Oh yeah, the ultra marathon. Yeah.
He always say, keep it hard, man. Keep it hard. Keep it hard, right? Do hard things. I mean, he's a bit of, he's out there, but I love his book, and I love some of the things he says on Instagram. It's quite fascinating. Yeah, it's, I don't think it's him or Wim Hof. Wim Hof?
Yes, the cold water guy. Yeah.
And he said, why a cold shower in the morning? It's not that it's just good for health, immune system to have a cold shower. And then all your blood you get sort of you get out of this nice comfort zone of sleeping to, okay, wake up. It's also because it's a hard thing. Yeah, it's tough. You get a really cold shower on your body in the morning. It's tough, but also your mind say, okay, life and the day coming, it's not going to be all roses again. There's going to be some challenge. But if it's the first thing you see when he wakes up, but then it's the first thing you see. But then after you take off the showers, you get off the shower and it's like, wow, it feels so good. It's like, okay, bring it on, right?
Yeah.
Right. I'm starting to do. I went to see a physical therapist yesterday. There's a small muscle block, and she told me to go back to plank. So now I decide a new routine where instead of doing crunches for my abs, I'm doing plank. And one of the first thing in the morning, and it's not, I was never doing crunch in the morning anyway. For me, I would do that at night. But she said, no, don't do abs crunch. Anyway, do plank. And in the morning, it's a great way to wake up. After your coffee or whatever your morning routine, not right away, of course, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. And before, for me anyway, but watching any emails, and, I never look emails before I'm at least 30, 40 minutes awake, right? Never. And then And then, but even before the emails, you start the day with plank. If it's 1 minute, it's 1 minute. If you can make it 10 minutes, it'd be great. But whatever, no matter how many, you start the day with, yeah, it's tough, but you feel good, you feel tense. Your body just, okay, hot shower and plank. That's going to be my recipe for 2023. Cold shower and plank.
Cold shower and plank. Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a recipe.
Do you have a recipe in the morning? Do you have a routine? Do you have a ritual?
Yeah. So I meditate. I meditate every morning for 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah. I meditate twice a day for 20 minutes. That's been one of the most transformative changes I've made in the last few years.
When is the other time? Is it midday or before sleeping?
No, just before I sleep. Yeah, just before I sleep. And I do like a yang meditation in the morning. So I actually have an active meditation where I'm guided through it. And then in the evening, it's more yin, right? I just let it go. Yeah. So yeah, I find that really deep. Yeah. And then and some form of exercise. And so this morning I cycled. So I'm in a co-working space. That was great. I had the cold air in my face for like 30-minute cycle.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes it's yoga, sometimes it's weights. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
I'm also doing this tuning fork thing, which is a lot of fun. So I don't know if you've come across tuning fork healing, where you take the tuning fork and then you place it on your body, and I find that really, really, really powerful. It's like it's literally like tuning your electromagnetic field. Yeah. That makes I've healed all kinds of niggles just through sticking a like in my knees. I just put my tuning fork on the knee like consistently for a few days, brought up some emotion. There was obviously some block there, and then it healed, and yeah, it was gone.
Oh wow! I'll try that as well. I'm always in kind of new experience to heal or perform better.
Which I think is just related to authenticity. I mean, I've done that in the gym. And I think part of authenticity is like learning to deal with strange looks or like the reactions of others. And I'm going to do my tuning fork thing. And yeah, even if people are like, what's that guy doing?
Thanks. I'm just looking at the time. I'm going to have to
yes, you need to go.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go.
Well,
fascinating. Thank you for the time, and I'm gonna also now listen to the podcast you've done before and the next one. I'm gonna make sure everyone subscribe to your podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, and we'll put the links to your various products. So there's the Stand Up for Passion. Yes. For people who are interested in the platform you mentioned, just give us the URL for that one.
Humanava, HUMANAVA.com.
Humanava. Let's get that. We'll get that into the show notes. We'll put the Stand Up for Passion. Anywhere else you'd send people?
Those who speak French, it's ArnaudCollery.com. My name, right?
Yeah.
ERY.com. That's only in French, this one. And then you can watch my, I guess, TED Talk online.
Yeah, and I would recommend that. You've got a ton of great talks out there. It was fantastic. I had a chance to listen to some of them before preparing for the show, and yeah, thoroughly recommend those.
Thank you. Good.
Great. All right. I know you got to run. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci à toi. And
c'était magnifique.
Merci. And
all right.
Can't wait to hear the feedback, if any, from the podcast or not.
Yeah, I'll let you know. All right. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.